Stumbling home, we don't know where we're going. Should've turned back hours ago. Out of our minds, I guess we're sleeping outside. You're still a good time, even in the cold.
Hello, welcome to Defender Adventure. We are Paul and Chrissy from the UK, and with our Land Rover Defender that we have called Sterling, we are travelling the world.
Guess we need a new plan. There's a motel a mile down the road.
Good morning and welcome to Canada's Northwest Territories.
Yes, it's just us here and our little furry friend. We are at Lady Evelyn Falls Territorial Park Campground. Now that we're in the Northwest Territories, we're staying at territorial parks, whereas when we were in British Columbia, the province of British Columbia, we were staying at provincial parks. Both are sort of similar, but if I'm honest, I have to say that the services and the facilities we found here at the territorial parks have the edge. So come on, British Columbia, up your game a little bit. So, a couple of updates. One, I've had a shave.
You have?
Looking good. Even though I've also had a haircut, but Chrissy thinks I still need another one. She doesn't think he did a very good job.
Well, there's quite a bit on there.
And the final update, don't have teriyaki on trout. Not a good idea.
Especially for breakfast.
No. Or any time. So, at the end of our last video, we were heading to Williams Lake. We spent the night in Williams Lake, did all the jobs that we needed to do there, and then set off north, heading towards Prince George. We decided to take the scenic route and had a lovely drive down to the Fraser River, a beautiful river crossing, a great bridge there that we crossed. And then that river crossing took us up to a small track that ran up the west side of the Fraser River, and all was going well until we found ourselves in the middle of a construction site. And apparently there had been a road closed sign. We had missed this, but to be fair, here is the sign. So we were stopped. We were told the police had been called. We were trespassing, and then claiming that we were just simple British idiots.
I spoke nicely to him.
You did, yeah. They turned us round and escorted us out, and a 40-mile detour later, and we were back on track. That night we stayed just north of Prince George at a campground called
Crooked River?
Crooked River Campground. The following day we continued north and we stayed the next night at a campground called Moberly Park. This was just north of a small town called Chetwynd, and it was quite interesting to see in Chetwynd that each year they hold the World Chainsaw Carving Championship, and each year the town gets around another 120 wood carving statues to find a place for somewhere in the town. Following day, we continued our journey round towards Fort St John on the Alaska Highway. We travelled north up the Alaska Highway, stopping overnight at Buckinghorse River Campground, and then the following morning we left there, passed through Fort Nelson, and then turned north off of the Alaska Highway and headed north towards the British Columbia and Northwest Territories border. And at this point I'll hand you over to Professor Harrow. Good afternoon. Professor Harrow here, just me and a few hundred mosquitoes. So hopefully they won't cause us too much problem. We are currently here on this map. We have just crossed from British Columbia into the Northwest Territories, and we've come across this wonderful display, and I thought I could use this display to give you a little idea of where we intend to go over the next few days. We've got only a few miles left to go today from the border crossing here to Fort Liard, where we'll spend the night tonight, and then we're going to continue up the Liard Highway, this red line, the Liard Highway, until we reach a point called Checkpoint here, a place called Checkpoint. From there we will join the route here, the Mackenzie Highway, which is also known as the Waterfall route, and we'll follow this purple route all the way down to here to Enterprise. When we reach Enterprise, we will leave the Waterfall route and head north a little way and then east here over to Fort Smith. There is a road that's not shown on this map, but this road heads down into Wood Buffalo National Park, which is this green area here. So I hope you are taking notes and taking all this in, because there will be a test later. Once we've finished in Wood Buffalo National Park, we'll be working our way back past all these bison in the road, and we will return to Enterprise, where we will then rejoin the Waterfall route, head south, and at this point we'll cross the 60th parallel again and leave Northwest Territories, one of those mosquito friends, and drop back down. But this time we will not return into British Columbia, we're now coming back into Alberta, and we'll continue south until we find some suitable point to turn left and head east.
This is as good a day as any to start the rebuilding of life. The roads that lay open are many when the old one's gone under the knife. And I can feel the sun on my skin, beginning to thaw from within. Today and not tomorrow, there's no time to borrow. Today is a good day to live.
We spent an uncomfortable night at Hay Lake Campground near Fort Liard. Never seen so many mosquitoes in our lives. Everything we did in a panic there.
Quickly.
Couldn't get out of there quick enough the next morning, and then continued further north into the Northwest Territories until we turned east off of the Liard Highway onto what is known as the Waterfalls route. It's actually called Mackenzie Highway, but it's known as the Waterfall route.
Today, well, something's gotta give. Today is a good day to live. borrow today. Well, something's gotta give today. It's a good day today and not tomorrow. There's no time to borrow today. Well, something's gotta give today. It's a good day today. It's a good day today. It's a good day to live.
So we have been here a couple of days. The weather has been very good. The mosquito level has been very good. So we are now just about to pack up and move along a little further to a small town called Hay River on the edge of Great Slave Lake. Great Slave Lake? Yes, Great Slave Lake. We have, however, unfortunately had some bad news. Chrissy's mum isn't on top form right now, and after a chat with her brothers, Chrissy has decided she's going to return home to the UK for a few months. So over the course of the next week or so, we'll be working our way back down to Calgary, where she'll be flying home from. That will, unfortunately, leave just me to look at.
You poor things.
I know. And I've got to review my route now, because this is obviously will take us off our planned route. I still intend to cross Canada, and hopefully Chrissy says she'll be back out to meet me sometime before Christmas. I suspect that's most likely to be when I'm getting somewhere near to Florida and sunshine, but we will see. So we will leave you alone for now and see you a little later when we get to Hay River.
Down the road.
Just down the road. 80 miles. 1-0. Great Slave Lake here is, we've learned while we've been here, the 9th largest lake in the world, and it's not surprising to see some pretty huge fishing boats. Also it feeds a lot of remote small towns. They have a lot of lorries, goods delivered to places like Hay River, and then there's barges and transportation ships to take them down the Mackenzie River to reach remote locations. So it serves as a very important function for the Northwest Territories here. But as I say, as a tourist destination, I wouldn't encourage people to drive too far out of their way to come here, unless they need groceries and fuel.
Yeah.
We've just come down today to Fisherman's Wharf at Hay River. We've been told today's the day the fresh catch comes in, and just over here we can get fresh fish and chips. With a bit of luck, Chrissy is already in the queue. She is in the queue, but unfortunately she's at the very back. Afternoon.
Yes.
Those two.
Okay.
And 2 pieces of fish and chips. Twice.
Okay, Paulie, show us what you got.
I have 2 pieces of fish. I'm not sure what fish. It's just fish.
Whitefish.
Mm-hmm.
That's the longest queue I've had to queue for fish and chips.
And oh, look at the number of chips you've got compared to me. How'd you manage that?
Sorry.
And it's $20 each, so $20 is around, at the moment, I think it's about £13 each. for fish and chips. So not cheap either.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, let's enjoy.
Good morning.
Morning, morning. Yeah, walk along because the mozzies. We are. We had our fish and chips at Hay River yesterday, and
Chips were lovely,
they were actually.
but I didn't eat them all. I shared.
We then drove south, only about 30 miles, to Enterprise, where we hopped into a little festival that was going on there.
Give it, Charlie.
And a game, an interesting game called Bunnock.
Paul, tell me the rules again.
You have to knock the two black ones down first. If you knock any white ones down before the white ones have to be stood back up. Once the two black ones are knocked down, then it's the first team to knock all the other ones, whites, bones down. But they're bones, they call them bones because they used to be played with horses' bones, apparently. There's a nice thought. Anyway, we spent a couple of hours there, and then we headed back south a little further to Twin Falls Gorge Territorial Park, which is where we are right now. And you may be able to hear this in the background, but just behind us, and I'll get Chrissy to flip the camera in a moment, is one of the two falls here. This is called Louise Falls. Good afternoon. I am here to make a confession. My confession is that our video, or our video recording, ended pretty abruptly. We did a little bit more filming after Louisa Falls, but we both became very focused on Chrissy's trip back to the UK and what that would mean for both of us. And unfortunately, recording video took a back step for a short time. So just to bring you back up to speed again, we didn't go to Wood Buffalo National Park. We didn't get time to do that. We finished eating our fish and chips at Hay River. We had dropped a little bit south to Twin Gorge Falls, and I think the last video that we showed you was us going to see Louisa Falls. Louisa Falls, we got a view from the very top, and then we learned that there was actually a spiral staircase and boardwalk that would take you down much closer to the falls. So off we went. They don't call this the waterfall route for nothing.
Oh my God, look at that.
The power of that. And then we jumped in the car, a little bit out of breath after climbing back up the staircase, and drove a couple of kilometres down the road to Alexandra Falls. We then drove a little further south until we reached the 60th parallel, where we would cross from Northwest Territories into Alberta. And then we continued south towards Calgary. It took us 2 to 3 days to get down to Calgary, but we didn't do any videoing at all, partly because, as I said previously, we were focused on Chrissy's upcoming trip, and mainly because it wasn't very exciting and it wasn't very inspiring. We also didn't record our very emotional goodbyes to each other. We don't generally overly show our emotions towards each other, but I did want her to know that I loved her more than she would ever know, more than I ever tell her, and I'll never forget the response that I got, the words that mean so much to me. She said, "Ditto." So I carry that in my heart now. But we do have, from time to time, meaningful conversations. I clearly recall one we had not many nights ago round by the campfire. If anything ever happened to me on this trip, you know, like I died, would you get married again?
Yes.
And if you got married again, would you let him live in our house?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay. Would you let him drive my car?
Yes.
What about our bed? Would you let him sleep in our bed?
Yeah. I'm not going to change my bed.
Would you let him use my golf clubs?
No, he's left-handed.
What? So I thought at this stage it might be useful to show you a map of how our journey across Canada is going so far. This gives you an idea of the distance we've travelled so far and how many miles east across the country we have made it. I think you can tell the trip's not going quite as planned so far. But hopefully, when I leave Calgary, I'll head a little further north. I think at the moment my plan is to drive up to Grand Prairie and then head east from there. But that, as they say, or as we often say, is for the next video. So thanks for watching and see you soon. Goodbye.